Hi scholars, so yesterday we started learning about how to write a paragraph and especially an informative paragraph. So we're going to review what we talked about yesterday and we're going to finish up our paragraph. So yesterday we talked about how when you write a paragraph you have different parts or different information. So I showed you two different charts you could use. So we had our hamburger chart of how to make a paragraph. So you have your topic sentence that starts. Then all of the middle part of the hamburger is all the details that tells about the topic, and then at the bottom you have your closing, which just lets them know what this whole paragraph was about. So it reiterates what the topic sentence was. We also had this chart that talked about in detail about our parts as well and what each part does. So yesterday we did our focus statement, which it tells the big idea of your piece of writing. Then we did our first set of detail sentences. So the detail sentences help the reader understand the focus statement. So it gives them information about our first sentence. So we had our first sentence, it described the first body part, so which was one of the feathers. And then the second sentence that we went with it told us how that part, how that feather helps or protects the bird and helps them survive. Today we're going to focus on our next set of detail sentences. And then we're going to do our conclusion. So again, our conclusion, it wraps up your piece and reminds the reader of the big idea. And when we were writing our paragraph, we were using information that we took our notes on from the story. So we created a chart a couple days ago with our information about describing the feather and how it helps the bird survive, and then the type of bird it has. So yesterday I want to read what we did for our work, and then we're going to finish it off. So our topic sentence was, birds' feathers help them to survive in many ways. So again, it's letting our reader know that we're going to be talking about how feathers help birds survive. So our first detail, we have some birds have thick feathers. So that's telling us what type of feathers we're going to talk about. Now our second sentence to go with that explains how those thick feathers help the bird survive. So it says, these feathers protect them like sunscreen. Now we need to look at a different type of feather and explain how that type of feather helps the bird survive. So we're going to go to our chart and we're going to focus on the one that says colored to match habitat. So other birds, they have their feathers that are different colors that match where they live. Their habitat is where they live. So we're going to create our sentence about the colors of the feathers. So our sentence will be, other birds have colored feathers that match their what? What does it say? It matches their what? Habitat. Again, that's where they live. Feathers that match their habitat. So we described what the next feather is that we're going to be talking about. Now we have to explain how those feathers help the bird survive. Because again, our story or our little paragraph is about how birds' feathers help them to survive in many ways. So we talked about how they have their colors to match their habitat. Now we need to jump over to see that it hides the bird from enemies. So they use these feathers that match their habitat to hide from their enemies. So we're going to write our sentence. These feathers help the bird to hide. So it's keeping the birds safe from the enemies. So again, we have our focus statement that tells us what it's about. We did our details yesterday about the thick feathers. And then today we just did our next detail about the different colored feathers and how they match their habitat. Now that we did our two details, our set of details, now we're ready to end our paragraph. So this part is called our conclusion. And when we do our conclusion, it reinstates what our paragraph was about. So normally a conclusion sentence is similar to what our topic sentence is. So we had to let the reader know that we are done. So our topic sentence was, birds' feathers help them to survive in many ways. So how could we say that again to describe what we just talked about in our conclusion? Okay, so we can talk about how it protects. So instead of using the word survive, we can say that the feathers protect the birds. So feathers protect the birds. And what did we talk about? It protects them from the what? The sun. And what did we just talk about today? And protects them from the what? Right, the predators or their enemies. So feathers protect the birds from the sun and predators or their enemies. I gotta make sure I have my period at the end. Okay, so we're gonna read through it one more time to make sure it makes sense and the readers know what we're talking about. So here we go. It says, birds' feathers help them to survive in many ways. Some birds have thick feathers. These feathers protect them like sunscreen. Other birds have colored feathers that match their habitat. These feathers help the bird to hide. And then here's our conclusion. Feathers protect the birds from the sun and predators. So it sums up what our details just said. Great job. So what I need you to do is, yesterday you wrote down and copied the focus statement in our first set of details. Today I want you to add to our paragraph the details we wrote today and the conclusion. And remember, when we start a paragraph, the first line's always moved over a little bit, but then the rest is straight down. Can't wait to see your great paragraph.